What up, y'all? This is Dame Ritter with a different type of segment. I'm not abandoning the MEC. This is an addition to the MEC. I know that typically we talk about three different topics. We each bring a topic to the table. But I feel like there's way too many topics that I want to talk about. I never get to a lot of the stuff that I want to talk about on the MEC. So this will be an opportunity for me to respond to videos that I find online that I don't agree with. I think there's a lot of bad information floating around. Not to say that I know everything, but I've been in the game for 17 years now, working with and for creators. And I feel like now there's a lot of information out there, but there's a lot of bad information. And that's the reason why we started the MEC. And that's the reason why I want to start this segment. I'm going to call it Blame Dame. But there is a video that I want to respond to. It's not necessarily music based, it's more about Tubi. For those that don't know, I have been in music for over 17 years, but I also manage a comedian named Big Ja, and we are inching into the television and film space. And Ja's starting to have some decent success. So it's almost like deja vu. Back in 2008, I was jumping from the corporate world into music. I didn't know anything about music. So I felt like I had to learn everything from ground zero, and now working with Ja for about 7 years as a manager, and we're trying to get into the television and film space. I feel like I'm once again learning from ground zero. There's a lot of overlap because I feel like streaming has impacted music in a similar way that it has impacted television and film. So there's definitely some overlap. But there's a video that I want to respond to, and it's about Tubi. I believe it's on the Roland Martin channel. It's Isaac Hayes Jr. talking about Tubi. Tubi has been the butt of a lot of jokes, but it has also been a platform that creators are now making a living from. They're making a lot of money on the Tubi platform. I believe Tubi has over 100 million watchers. I was about to say monthly listeners, like I'm in my music mode with Spotify, but they have over 100 million active monthly users, and it's starting to be a place where people that create long form content. So in order to put stuff on Tubi, you currently have to go through a distributor unless you have a direct deal with Tubi, and that's hard to get. We're just now in direct communication with Tubi trying to sort out a deal for one of Big Ja's next shows. But typically you have to go through a distributor, kind of like you have to go through a distributor like Two Loss to get your music out there. You have to go through a distributor to get your music to get your film on Tubi. And for a feature film, I believe your film has to be at least 50 minutes. And for a series, if you want to put a series on Tubi, then each episode has to be longer than 20 or 22 minutes. But Isaac Hayes Jr. was on Roland Martin's platform, and they were talking about Tubi. And I want to roll this video and respond to certain segments because in terms of how he's talking about it, we haven't had the same experience. And I don't want to discourage, other potential filmmakers or even artists that are getting into more longer form content from trying to get their stuff on Tubi. So I'm going to play it, and I'm going to stop it at certain segments where I disagree. And there's actually a few segments where I do agree, and I'll call those out as well. But here we go.
One of the guys that was over at partnerships at TikTok, a black dude, he just went over to Tubi. Pause for a second.
So that is true. There is a new VP of partnerships that just joined Tubi. They're building out a whole creator program. There's a lot of platforms now that are focused on trying to appeal to creators that have an engaged community to try to bring their audience over to the Tubi platform. So that part is definitely true.
Let me give the Tubi story real quick. So Tubi, everybody knows what Tubi is, especially black culture. So you know all those movies that were going on Tubi? Those movies that were going on Tubi had a minimum budget requirement to be on the platform. So let's say, hey, if I wanted to get my movie on Tubi, the minimum budget that your movie has to be was maybe $50K, $25,000.
So I want to stop there because I'm not sure where he got that information, but we now have, I believe, 6 or 7 titles on Tubi. and nobody has ever asked us what the budget was, right? We submit our projects and our distributor presents them to Tubi, and I think if they believe it meets a certain quality threshold and there's an audience for it, then they accept it. Nobody has ever asked us how much a project costs. So I do not know where he got this information. If I had to guess, maybe there's a distributor similar to the distributor we use, and maybe they set their own rules for the type of films and projects that they screen to potentially submit to Tubi. But we've never gotten asked how much how much the budget was for a particular project.
Dollars. And then you can get your movie put on Tubi. Black people did that for years and years and years, right? Then Tubi just did a rebrand. They did a brand new rebrand. And then guess what happened? They raised the amount of money that your production has to be to put a movie on Tubi. Wow. So now your production, the budget of your movie has to be $500,000.
Oh wow.
$1 million to get on Tubi. So now Black people built up Tubi, and now you got to shoot better content to put your movies on Tubi. But here's
So he said at first the budget of your project had to be 50,000. Now it's 500,000. Again, I don't know where he's getting this from. We now have 4 seasons of The Lesbian Homie. The Lesbian Homie went live recently, so it went live within the past month. Again, no, it definitely didn't cost 500,000 to make season 4 of The Lesbian Homie. And now that we're in direct communication with Tubi, the budget that they're proposing advancing us is not even 500,000. So if they had a minimum requirement of 500,000 to put a show or a film on Tubi, then they should be offering us at least that. Right. So again, I'm not sure where he's getting this information, but there's a lot of Black creators that are on Tubi and they're doing well, especially out of Detroit. Shout out to Moolah Films. You guys are crushing it. We now make more on Tubi than we do on YouTube. We stay on YouTube because YouTube, there still is a lot of potential for growth. It's a much bigger platform than Tubi. But we now, in terms of monthly earnings, we now make more on Tubi than YouTube. So that's why I want to make this video, because I don't want to discourage any creators that may want to get their stuff on Tubi, and they might hear this and say, man, now I can't do it because I don't have $500,000 to put into a budget for my project. You don't need that. From our standpoint, if you have a quality project, matter of fact, if you have a quality project, hit me up and I'll take a look at it. I'll let you know if it's something that we think our distributor could work. And, you might be able to get your stuff on Tubi as well. I don't know if Tubi will ever allow self upload like YouTube. I don't think they're going in that direction. So you might always need to have a distributor until you get big enough to have a direct deal with Tubi. But if you have a project, have a film, and you think it's a quality film, hit me up and I'll take a look at it, and you might be able to go through our distributor. Again, what he's saying, I'm not accusing him of lying. All I'm saying is maybe there is a distributor that has set those standards for what they'll view or potentially pitch to Tubi. But it's definitely not the case for all of the projects that are going on to Tubi. Again, you could go on Tubi and put in Big Jaw's name. You'll see 6 or 7 projects that are already up there, and nobody has ever asked us how much the budget was for any of those projects.
Here's the part. The guy that went over to Tubi, he just got over there from TikTok, Black dude. Guess what he just did? He did a deal with Mr. Beast. He just did a deal with Mr. Beast.
So after
Look, and I'm not saying Mr. Beast is not an incredible person to get. He is the #1 video streamer on the planet. Don't get me wrong.
But out of all
the people, he could have started with 10, 15, 20 other creators to do content with over at Tubi, but he just announced, I'm doing a deal with Mr. Beast. And by the way,
so I have to stop it again here too, because it is true. They did a deal with Mr. Beast, but they are also working with, I believe, between 30 and 50 creators now. Big Job being one of them. We are literally in conversation to do a direct deal with Tubi. Hopefully, we'll be able to work it out. They've done a deal with Kanigra Dion, who's crushing it. If you don't know who Kanigra Dion is, I had her on the Independent Living podcast. You could check out that interview. But she's basically built an empire on YouTube, creating content that's primarily directed towards high school age kids, and she's crushing it. She is the next Tyler Perry. She is the next I don't know, but she's done amazingly well. And she's in conversation with Tubi. So there's also Funny Mike, who's another Black creator who's in direct. I believe he has a deal now with Tubi because I saw his content get up there as well. Now, I don't want to take away. I'm very well aware that a lot of these platforms. Let me take this. Let me take this down. Um, I'm very well aware that a lot of these bigger platforms benefit from Black creators, and Black creators oftentimes get the short end of the stick, right? If you look across the board, even Black creators with similar numbers to other creators make less money, right? And Black creators put a lot of content on these platforms. They popularize the platform, and we don't never feel like the platform shows us the same love in return, right? And Tubi is owned by Fox, and Fox, it seems like, ran that play back in the day when there was In Living Color and a bunch of other Black shows, and then it got popular, and then it pivoted. They did away with the Black shows. So don't get me wrong. I'm very well aware of that history. I just wanted to point out some things because Tubi at this very moment obviously has a lot of Black content. A lot of Black creators are benefiting from the content on the platform, right? I know that, that Tubi is the butt of a lot of jokes, but it's now paying out very well. And I just don't want Black creators hearing this conversation on Roland Martin's channel and being discouraged, right? Isaac Hayes has a fan base, and maybe we can talk about fan base on another video. I don't really want to go into that conversation right now, but Fanbase is a social media platform that he owns that has a lot of the same features as like an Instagram and a Clubhouse. I know it had I haven't been on it in a minute, but it has a lot of the same features, and he's been trying to get more people over to those platforms because because the algorithm and just a lot of other issues with these bigger platforms. And there's some things that I agree with him on when it comes to fan base, and there's some things that I don't agree with him on. But that's probably for another video. I just wanted to address some of these remarks made about Tubi. Um, it's been a way for us to continue to build our business, and I don't know what Tubi has planned for the future, but currently, right now, it is definitely a way for Black creators to be heard, be seen. Like I said, there's over 100 million monthly users on Tubi. If you guys come across a video that you'd like me to respond to, that you think I might have a different take on, a different opinion on, please send them to me. Reach out to me on Instagram at dame.mec. I want to start addressing some of this misinformation. I'm not accusing Mr. Hayes of being malicious or intentional with the information that's not correct, but maybe he just doesn't know. Maybe he just has never tried to get his own film onto Tubi. Maybe he only talked to one distributors that set those parameters for content of what they work with, but that's not an overall Tubi thing. And then, yes, they did work with Mr. Beast, but they're also working with Black creators too. They're not completely shutting Black creators out. I don't know what the future holds, but right now there's a huge opportunity. If you are a creator and you make long form content, you make digital series, you make feature films, I would definitely come up with a YouTube strategy, with a Tubi strategy, because right now is a great time to potentially be seen and build a healthy business. So, like I said, if there is anything else that you guys come across that you want my opinion on, reach out to me at dame.mec. I'm going to call this segment Blame Dame. I might tell the story of Blame Dame. If you already know where Blame Dame comes from, then you've been rocking with me for a minute, and I appreciate it. But like I said, this will be an addition to the MEC that drops every Monday. The episodes have been super dope. We've had some really great conversations. Aaron, DJ Paint One have brought some really dope topics to the table, and we've had some healthy conversations over the past few months. So those are going to continue to come on Mondays. But we'll see what the next topic is for Blame Dame. If you got something